Okay, everybody, welcome. We're going to finish in today's Tanya for Monday. We're going to finish chapter 35 and let's get into it. So we were talking about in yesterday's Tanya, excuse me, that we were speaking about that when somebody, the way you express your soul is via the garments, the three expressions. That is thought, speech, and action. When you think something, you are revealing your soul, expressing your soul. And when you speak, you're expressing your soul. And when you do, you're expressing your soul. But now we were talking in regard, yesterday we mentioned that in addition to expressing your soul, you're also, the expressions have this is from chapter 4 in Tanya, that there's what the soul is, and then there's what the soul does. The soul expresses, how the soul acts, expresses. Thank you. What the soul is, we said, is a repository of consciousness and emotional response to that consciousness. What the soul does is it thinks, it actively thinks, or it speaks, or it's expressed via the thought, speech, or the action. So when you think and speak Torah, you're expressing your divine soul via your thinking and the speaking. But it's also that you are merging your soul via the act of the mitzvah of thinking or speaking Torah. You're merging your soul, and particularly your souls, via these garments into the Shekhinah. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not only that you're expressing your godly soul. The mitzvah is a bonder of the divine soul via its garments, its expressions, to be kind of submerged in the will of God.
Wow.
So it's not only you're expressing a good part of you, you're actually elevating this part of you to the Shekhinah. However, that only works for 2 out of the 3 garments. The garment of the garment of action of doing, that can only be merged into the Shekhinah via actionable will of God, actionable mitzvahs. So in order to fully merge oneself, or to elevate oneself, to be absorbed in the light of the Shekhinah, you can't only do Torah study, you also have to do actionable physical mitzvahs, because that elevates another part of you, the life force that is animating the physical body. And when that is done, when a person does a mitzvah, what are they essentially doing? They're taking their animal soul, that is what is giving life in the blood to the body, and it is all being merged at the time of the mitzvah into the Shekhinah.
Wow.
And today he continues and he finishes up this idea. Okay, page 84. Although the substance and essence of the animal soul in his heart, meaning its evil midot, we know the animal soul has selfish emotional character traits that are very klipa, that are very try to conceal or to be indifferent to God and be very self-absorbed.
Last time he said it was very good.
What did I say?
I thought he said that the behema, the animal soul is got power and it's.
But it comes from klipa. It's very good, but it still comes from klipa.
I didn't say it didn't, but he said it was good. Now he says Zeke.
It could be very good. If it doesn't do its purpose, it can be very selfish and bad.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is, though, we said something interesting, that we said a general rule that nothing in this world can be sublimated, can be absorbed into God, unless it has bittul. And we're saying now, when you do a mitzvah, you're sublimating the animal soul inside. So you give charity with your hand, right? There's an animal soul life force, a human life force that's animating the hand, which is now giving mitzvah, doing charity. So that everything gets out, the hand and the animal soul that's making the hand do it is being absorbed into God. But there's a problem. Seemingly, the animal soul is not surrendering. You might force it, you might override its selfishness to do a mitzvah, let's say charity or put tefillin on. But you're telling me it's fully surrendered? It's still, if it got the chance, it would want to do something self-centric, not for God.
Right.
But here's the thing, because at the time of the mitzvah, the klipa inside the animal soul, which the evil midot that it has, are subjugated to holiness. And as we quote, against their will, they say amen, and they agree and they accede to the performance of the mitzvah through the strengthening of the divine soul in the brain, which masters the heart. And the evil midot are at such time when one exercises the natural mastery of brain over heart, because ultimately when you made the mitzvah, something told you to go do a good selfless thing, the mitzvah. That was your divine soul and the mind, ultimately, in that case, convincing the heart to go do it, convincing the animal soul to go do it despite its selfishness. And the evil midot that are in let's say, the animal soul, are at the time of the mastery of mind over heart, are in a state of exile and sleep, as mentioned above in chapter 12. I mean, it could still be there, but it could be put to sleep for a temporary time through your mind's doing the right thing over the desire of the heart. Therefore, this incorrigible state of the animal soul, that it is selfish and is klipa based, it does not prevent the Shekhinah from resting on one's body at this time.
Wow.
Meaning that the power of the animal soul clothed in the act that constitutes the mitzvah, for example, the hand putting on tefillin, as you see here, we have visual, is actually absorbed into the divine light and merges with it in perfect unity. Thereby, one draws down a ray of that light wherein that particular power has been absorbed upon the totality of the animal soul throughout the body, upon the entire body as well. Just to look that up for a second. So, yeah. I'm just trying to understand, to explain a little better. The bottom line is, when you do something with your body, the whole body is agreeing to come along for the ride for the mitzvah. When that happens, it's absorbed into the Shekhinah, and it actually draws down what we call a transcendent energy upon the whole body. Transcendent versus internal. In the terms of Chassidus, there's makif, which is transcendent relationship, and then there's pnimius, which is inner relationship with something. The difference of inner influence versus encompassing influence or transcendent influence. So inner influence, aka in Hebrew pnimius, it's more the internal sensation that you understand, that you get it. You get something, you can appreciate it, and then that it moves you. That's inner influence. It comes into you within your vessel. However, encompassing influence does not become absorbed within one's intellect or feelings.
Can you repeat that, Yitzi?
Encompassing influence, you don't really get it because it's beyond you. It's more, let's say, environmental, an example. Like the environment, the around you. It's not like you're not, for example, a parable given is when you go, someone who doesn't get football, you go to a rugby game. We're Americans. You go to Australia, and your friend invites you to a rugby game. There's 70,000 people in the stadium, and they're getting swept up, and there's so much emotion. It has a certain effect on you, even though you don't understand really what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So too, and even more so with the divine presence, which is, infinite. When you relate to it by doing the divine will, do you fully get it? No, you don't fully get it. It's unable to be grasped. But the fact is, the body and soul they experience some degree of resonance or acknowledgement of this encompassing light engendered by the mitzvah. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
This explains. So that's pretty much the idea. I'm just going to finish up with explaining a couple of pointers. But when you do a mitzvah, a physical mitzvah, you're elevating the animal soul and the body because they're agreeing to be part of this, and therefore they are being both sublimated into the divine will, and as a result, they draw a relationship at the time of the mitzvah with the Shekhinah, the transcendent, this all-encompassing light. This explains the question at the beginning of the Zohar that we said that the Shekhinah rests upon his head. Right? Why rests upon his head? Why in his head? When you do a mitzvah, the Shekhinah rests inside you. Why on you? Because
the
we
oil.
Explain, but now we're unpacking that. Because the Shekhinah so the Shekhinah, because your body can't really get the Shekhinah, because it's by definition a concealing machine, but it can still relate to it by doing the divine will. And when it does that, the Shekhinah is relating to it, but in a way of encompassing influence, surrounding influence. That's why it says that's why the Zohar said the Shekhinah rests upon your head. The idea of upon is rather than inside, because the relationship is not really understood by the body, but it is still felt, that it's around it, it's upon it. Similarly, we find the term about a minyan. Upon every assembly of 10 Jews, the Shekhinah rests. That's another level. We know when there's a minyan, there's a certain level of Shekhinah, of divine light that is encompassing that group of people. But it's on. Again, you don't get it, but it's on. It's an encompassing influence. Now, none of these various forms which the light of the Shekhinah is manifest, meaning the ways in which the Ein Sof light is revealed, can be construed as a change, heaven forfend, in himself or as a plurality. There's a small detail. The Shekhinah is coming in different levels. Is God's changes pending on the situation? So what's the answer? No, God never changes. God can't change.
Baruch Hashem.
Because that would make a plurality. If God changes, you're not putting God into parts. It's a plurality. That's the opposite of oneness, of true oneness. As we find in the tractate Sanhedrin, in the Gemara, it records that a certain heretic said to Rabbi Gamliel, "You say the Shekhinah rests in every assembly of 10. So there's a bunch of minions. How many Shekhinahs are there?"
Ooh.
So what did Rabbi Gamliel smartly reply? With the analogy of a sun's light that enters through many windows. The sun is all over. The question is, how much window is there to let it in? Right? There could be different windows with different filters. Stained glass, clear. It will come in the different ways, pending on the type of window, the type of allowance that the creatures let it in. And when we do a mitzvah, in this case, the high mitzvah of doing a minyan, it allows the Shekhinah to come in a much more influential way. V'amaskal yavin, and the intelligent will understand. The intelligent can understand this deeper and perceive it.
Wow.
So just to finish up this idea, we finished chapter 35. To summarize the whole chapter, we began with an explanation that it says that it's very near to you to do this Torah mitzvahs. You can do it. It's like ends off. Doing is very important. Why is doing the culmination? Because the actions, the doing, you got to do the mitzvahs. You can't just think them, even though there's a mitzvah of thinking Torah. Because the actions in the physical, practical world, within the soul, within a body, you have to realize that your mission, you don't have to escape the physical. On the contrary, you have to constantly do the mitzvahs and merge the physical with the holiness of the Shekhinah. How do we do that? So the chapter 35, the role was that when you do a mitzvah, you're causing the divine presence to dwell in the world, in you and from you to the world. This concept refers to revelation of God's unity in a particular object or or with the body, with a person, that the object and the person at the time of the mitzvah are absorbed within the divine because they're doing the divine will. And you can never achieve true bittul, surrender, which is the prerequisite for relationship to the infinite God, unless through a mitzvah. What was the analogy about the body's a wick, the Shekhinah is the flame, and the mitzvahs are the oil? That's how you keep the Shekhinah tethered into your life and from your life to the world.
Amen.
We also mentioned that the revelation, the dwelling of the Shekhinah by doing mitzvahs is not an internal influence that you can fully sense and assimilate into your psyche, into your consciousness, even of your soul. It's way beyond the capacity of the soul, and therefore it's what we call an encompassing influence. That you can sense it, sometimes more, sometimes less. But it's happening nonetheless. Now, we know a big part of us, we want to sense holiness. We want to sense our relationship with God. Mm-hmm. We don't want it to be, it's happening, we don't get it. Mm-hmm. But that's your own personal need. That's not as important for the divine presence, mm-hmm. for you to get it 100%. Mm-hmm. Now, this is kind of unfair. Hashem is appreciating all the magic, all the revelation that happens to us letting the Shekhinah in by doing mitzvahs. But we don't get it. It seems a little bit tragic. You can't even realize it. You can barely, at best, you can somewhat realize it, but never fully. But as we said in earlier chapters, but this, of course, is to remind you that even if you don't get it, you can have joy about what you're accomplishing. Okay.